Hey everybody, how are you guys doing? Alright, so update video on my new series that I'm writing. So behind me, right there, you can see Revelations, Rise of the Inquisitor. It's my very first science fiction novel, fictional novel, that I've written, and I have it published through Amazon. Copies have been continuing to sell, which has been really awesome, and trying to continue to grow Revelations as its own brand. If you're not aware from one of the other previous videos, I'm working on a new series that is set within the Revelations universe. It focuses on a character called Mikhail Tarvis, and he is a pirate captain. And my computer just turned off. He is a pirate captain, and he is basically trying to take care of his town and his people through having to raid and steal from other colonies and other planets, because their town is, actually the whole planet that he's from, called Destiny, has gone through a really bad economic time. A bunch of the inner worlds have as well. And the government has kind of basically said, you're kind of on your own. We have other things we have to deal with. So people have gotten desperate, and they're, what do people do? When they're hungry, they do things they have to do that isn't necessarily righteous, but it's necessary, right? So his town chose the right of being pirates and trying to use their transport vessel to be kind of like an incognito pirate ship so that they could move around and steal things. So the very first novel, which is right now titled Judgment Day. I say right now because sometimes the titles change. So the working title is Judgment Day. I'm looking at this being a 5-part series. Book 1 is finished. It is now in the beta phase, and I have people starting to beta read. I'm looking forward to getting feedback because it's very important for book 1 to be correct, so that way book 2, 3, 4, and 5 will be right in line and everything will be fantastic. Behind the scenes kind of thing, I've never written a series before. I've written, a bunch of short stories now. I've written multiple nonfiction books. I've written Rise of the Inquisitor for a science fiction book, but I've never written a series. Technically, Rise of the Inquisitor was supposed to be smaller installments that ended up just being all one novel. But when I had originally outlined that book, it was meant to be 9 parts, 9 100-page parts that would create 3 novels. Well, once I started writing Rise of the Inquisitor and really just letting everything flow, I hit all the points that I wanted to, but it happened much faster than I thought. This time, with Judgment Day, I thought, okay, I've written an outline, and I'm like, all right, this is book 1. It ended up being 250 pages for me to get to a certain part in the story where I'm like, okay, it needs to end here or it's going to be really long. I decided to take basically the planned ending of book 1 and move that into book 2, and then just like book 2 would just continue. And so I finished writing that part the other day, which was basically supposed to be the real ending of book 1. And that ended up being an additional 120 pages. So the original book, while it was set to be 300 pages, would have ended up being 370 plus pages if I included the true ending. So I'm kind of going back and forth of okay, should the first novel be the 370 plus pages, or should it be at 250? So it's more palatable, because I know, the thing is, when you're discussing writing, some people don't like reading huge, thick books. They like reading, really a book that they can finish, they feel that they can accomplish it. And other people don't care. They're like, just tell me the story, however big it is, right? But then you do have to think of the business side of things. So if you're looking at being an author, you need to look at, okay, if you're doing ebooks, it doesn't matter what size book it is, other than people saying, oh, it's 1,000 pages. I'm not reading 1,000 pages. But if you're looking at doing print books, like I have back there, print on demand, you have to consider every single page costs you money. That book right there, I'll just let you guys know, cost me right now, if I were to go purchase that exact copy, is $5.39 as of the recording of this video before shipping. And shipping is several dollars. So you get a discount on shipping if you buy multiple books, but just by itself, I think I would have to spend, if I bought just one copy at the author price, I think would put me around $9. I think. May have been $5, so it may have ended up being 10 something. So it's not super economical for me to then go turn around and sell that book for $13, which is what the price is at the recording of this video. But when you're selling through Amazon, you get a cut, and I don't have to deal with printing. I don't have to deal with bulk purchases of having to buy 20,000 copies and keep them somewhere in a garage or in a storage unit while I try to sell them. So there are pros and cons to the business side. But a smaller book could yield higher profits. And I do have to think of that because it's a business, and I want Revelations to become my full-time income. So I have to weigh the creative side, and then I have to weigh the business side, and how do I get them to marry together so that I can be happy with both, you know, and obviously that you guys can be happy with both. I want you to get a reading experience that you feel was very enjoyable. You felt like it was worth the money. But at the same time, I have to make a certain amount so that it's worth my time. Not so much that it's because like, oh, it's not worth my time, but because you have to think of, you know, I have a family, I have rent, I'm trying to move up in life, and we will eventually need a new vehicle. We would like to own a house. All those things can't happen from one book. I know that takes a process and it takes effort on my part, which I'm putting in. But, you know, just have to weigh all the different pieces together and be wise about it rather than just being reckless and saying, it's a $20 book now. People aren't going to buy a $20 book from an author they've never heard of before, right? Probably not. And so, but book one way or the other, technically is finished. Right now I'm shooting for the 250-page version. I feel like the ending for book one, as it stands, is at an emotional point where you would want to keep reading. Not necessarily wanting to leave it as some big, you know, huge cliffhanger, but obviously if it's in a series, none of the installments are going to feel like, okay, the story could end right here and everything would be hunky-dory. No, everything is building up to book 5 where this, you know, it's going to be the climax, right? And the whole wrap-up of all the plot threads and everything. So in a way, I mean, when you start sitting down to read book 1, you know, okay, there's going to be, in this instance, 5 parts. So it doesn't really matter where book 1 ends. I'm going to want to read 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? That's the hope. So where it ended right now, it is at a point where it's a good stopping point, I feel. Otherwise, like I said, it would really require the next 120 pages to finish it. There's no way, there's no part in it, in that 120 where you're like, okay, that's a good stopping point. Like if you were making episodes, you're like, okay, we could end it here and it would feel like in between a thought. It basically takes 120 to finish the third act in a way if you were to break it down with the vernacular. And there's not a good pausing point in that wouldn't feel disruptive. So it's either like 250 or 370 plus in order to just like do it or don't. With that said, book 2 is coming together. I've already started writing the next parts of it and moving forward with things, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's really coming together. Book 2, as it stands right now, has hands down the largest battle I've ever done in any of my stories. It was not necessarily difficult, but it did stretch me to try to keep track of some things. I did the combat a little different than in Rise of the Inquisitor. Rise of the Inquisitor, I had all the mechs written out, how many I had and all the different things, and then I was like, okay, as they died, I was like scratching a line through them, so I'm like, okay, this one's dead, this one's dead, this one's disabled. In this one, in book 2 of Kingdom of Sand, which is the name of the series, I kept like a mental track, and I kind of knew, okay, I was like, all right, that ship's dead and stuff, but I mean, I didn't do it necessarily as nitty gritty, just because I was trying to keep the combat going because we had already had so many pages. And it wasn't all combat, but I mean, I've gotten commentary from certain people who've read my stuff before, and they're like, you know, the combat's great, but it gets too cumbersome. So I'm trying to weigh, okay, I want really intense action, but I don't want it to feel like it takes 100 pages to get through one battle. So I had to kind of figure out a different way to get through it. And I think it worked very well. I'm excited about it. I feel like I need to say it. The Kingdom of Sand series is in Revelations. It is set in that universe. I got like a weird hiccup there. Revelations is the universe that all this stuff takes place in. Kingdom of Sand is the series following one particular character and his journey through life. But anyway, so that is a little bit of an update. I'm really excited about it. I can't wait to start letting things start flowing out because, man, it's going to be really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I just wanted to kind of update you guys on what's going on, and there's going to be a lot more to come. All right, talk to you guys later.